Okay, so I did start this video by scripting and I have been typing out what I want to say for about 10 minutes, but I've decided I'm just going to talk and see how it goes. So that's what we're doing. Today's video is another sit-down chatty video. I filmed a very similar video to this, which was 3 things I'm doing differently with my third novel when I was at a similar point in writing High Quality Man, which was the third project I have a completed draft of. It's a contemporary novel about a podcaster who has a manosphere kind of podcast, and it's kind of his reckoning with I guess being cancelled and his downfall. Anyway, so that's not the novel I'm talking about today. I am talking about my 4th project, which I am 40,000 words into. So that's why I'm making this same video, because this was the point in the last project where I made this video talking about things I'm doing differently in my process and things that have kind of adapted and adjusted with my writing since I have been working on this. And I kind of like these kind of check-in videos because I think, it's really it's cool to have a record or some kind of document to look back on and say, oh, that's where I was in that particular time when I was working on that project, and that's what I was doing, and this is what's changed since then. And I think the more I write and the longer I write for, the cooler it's going to be to have this kind of documented record to look back on. So that's kind of the purpose behind today's video. And now I guess I will get into what's changed and talking you through. I only wrote out the first dot point, which was that I did not start this project that I've been working on, which doesn't really have a title or a project name at the moment. I mean, the candle that I light every time I work on it has a name, Carol Edna, but the project itself doesn't. So that's slightly, questionable naming on my part. But anyway, so I did not start this project from a baseline of 0 words. I kind of had almost 10,000 words written of this before I even went back to it in June. And I had done that writing in 2023 before I even started working hard on my second novel, The Go-Between Girl, the second novel I finished. So yeah, that was a really big draw of coming back to this project, that I didn't have to start from 0, and I didn't have to, do that intimidating first step of starting the draft. I had stuff to work from. And I think that can be a really, I know you're not going to be in that situation every time. I'm probably not going to be in this situation again soon. But it felt really good to kind of open a document that already had some words in it. Now, did I have to throw out almost everything I'd written? Yes, I did. Because I decided to make some significant changes to who the main character was and her kind of history and backstory, and also reading something that I wrote, essentially 3 years ago. There was a lot of things about that draft that were not, aligning with what I would produce now. It was much weaker. It was much, I tend to be an underwriter, so it was much more skimmed over the top of what was happening rather than really diving into it. So there were a lot of things that I kind of had to rework. But it was a nice cushion to kind of still have that baseline there, and when I was stuck, I could go back and see, okay, what did I do next in this draft? And what ended up happening was that the 9,000 words that I'd written in the first draft, by the time I got up to the same point in the story, I'd written 17,000 words. So, I don't know whether I'm advocating, maybe I am advocating for, like, if you're not enjoying a project, put it down. It doesn't mean you're putting it down forever. Do something else for a little bit and you can come back to it with fresh eyes, and you can get so much more juice out of the fruit that you've already juiced. I don't know whether that metaphor works. But anyway, that is kind of my experience of working on this project. Now, the other thing I am doing differently is my daily writing practice. Now, this has kind of evolved a lot over the course of writing the past few novels. In my first novel, First Do No Harm, which is self-published, if you're interested, it's dark coming of age story about a girl named April, and yeah, it's available, so you can check it out if that's something that sounds like your cup of tea. But when I was working on First Do No Harm, it was the challenge of having a writing process was just try and touch the draft in some way, like just get the document open. That was the big hurdle. Just get the document open, get something on the page. And for a little bit of working on the Go-Between Girl, that was the same kind of practice that I had, like just get the document open, get something on the page. That was the entire goal of the session. And what that resulted in a lot of the time was these writing sessions that would be 250 words, 300 words, and that's it. Not a lot more than that. And so as I got closer to the end of the Go-Between Girl, which was the second novel, it evolved to more like 1,000 words a session, the goal being get 1,000 words down, get through however long it takes you to write that amount of words. That's how long you're writing for. And now I'm working on this fourth novel. That was the goal I maintained all throughout High Quality Man. And now I'm working on this fourth novel. I'm kind of varying it a bit. I am very much changing the goal frequently. Like, I'll have sessions where I'll try and write 1,000 words. I'll have sessions, you've seen in my recent challenges, where I'm trying to write for a particular amount of time. And that kind of changes the writing process a bit, because it kind of makes your process different if you have a different goal. And I have done a challenge where I swapped workout. I wrote for the amount of time I worked out in a week. I did a screen time challenge, which was hell, where I wrote for the amount of time I waste watching screens in a week. In that challenge, I was editing High Quality Man, but it's still it's a different kind of setup. So I think I kind of had to go through those stages of having the goal of first stage was having the goal of just touching the draft. And once I got that established into my writing practice, then I had a very structured, this is the goal, no flexibility, this is what we're doing, of 1,000 words per session. And now that I've kind of come to this new stage in the process, I can kind of be more flexible with what the session goal is. I don't have to write 1,000 words. I don't have to write for that particular length of time. I can kind of change and be more flexible with it. And I think that aspect of my process has definitely evolved over the amount of time that I've been working on this draft and bringing that flexibility. Okay, so what else has changed? I think a feeling I've been having since I've been working on this draft is feeling more like secure and more like I know what I'm doing in that contemporary, like upmarket fiction space. Like I feel like I'm having to reach lesser distance for what happens next, for what plot point I'm very much I don't outline, so it's very much what occurs to me in the moment is what I write. But I feel like as I've gone through the process of writing these drafts, I definitely struggle less with what to do next, what is the next plot point. I remember when I was writing The Go-Between Girl, I would get stuck quite frequently. Like every few chapters, I would feel stuck beyond my ability to kind of work my way out of that. And I think as I've kind of been working on this draft, I haven't had one session where I've sat for more than 10 minutes and thought, I don't know what happens next. And that was like a hallmark of the process of writing my first 2 novels, where I would kind of sit and think, what else can I add to this? What else, particularly with First Do No Harm, what else needs to be in this draft? What other chapters can I write? And that doesn't happen to me anymore. And I feel so kind of secure in this genre now that I kind of think my next novel will have to kind of flip and do something different just to give myself a new challenge. So I'm kind of, I know 40,000 words is not like it's the best 2/3 of the novel done, and it's the first draft, so it's not complete, but I am kind of starting to think about that next project in the back of my mind. I kind of let projects sit on the back burner for quite a bit of time while I'm working on something, so I don't necessarily jump into like, you know, doing stuff for them, but they kind of sit simmering in the back of my mind, and I kind of think about what to do next. Now, it would be really nice if I had a 4th thing, because then this video could be 4 things I'm doing differently with my 4th novel. I don't know whether I have a 4th thing. I'm going to think about that for a few minutes, and then I will get back to you either with a wrap up to this video or with a 4th thing. We'll see. Okay, so I kind of have this one's a little bit of a cheat 4th thing to tell you that I'm doing differently. It is a very small change, but this novel has actually been written in a few different locations. Normally, I'm just right here where I'm sat now on the couch. My novels are couch novels. They are composed entirely, almost always on this couch. First Do No Harm was not composed on this couch. I did that in my on my desktop computer, and that was in another room. But since I've been writing The Go-Between Girl, and all of High Quality Man was essentially composed on this couch. But this 4th novel, which is still untitled, has actually gone a few different places. It has gone to the Hunter Valley to see family. It has gone to Lady Elliot Island. I made a whole video kind of documenting my writing process while I was there. So it has been on several different armchairs and couches in its time. And I think kind of learning how to continue working on something while I'm in a different location and while I'm traveling and not needing to be attached to the same kind of four walls and needing the same location all the time has been a really valuable kind of addition to my process, because you're not always going to be able to, like, you do have times where you have to travel and times where you have to visit people and times where you have to not have to go on holiday, but you do have like holidays, and not having to stop my process for that event and have a break for that length of time, and to be able to keep working on the project while I've been away has been a really big benefit and I've actually gotten a lot done in those times where I've taken this project to another location. It hasn't always been the smoothest, like I talked about in the Lady Elliot vlog, the difficulties of writing without having an internet connection, and kind of the challenge of writing a travel novel where you can't simply Google something to find out what the answer to that question is, or having things come up like that. It hasn't always been smooth, but it has been an aspect of this novel that, like, I'm really happy that has kind of worked. And I think I would have felt really like kind of disjointed and down in the dumps if I'd taken this project away and not been able to like work on it. So yeah, that is the fourth thing of my list of things I'm doing differently with my fourth novel. And, you know, if this video has been at all helpful for you, or you want to let me know something differently you're doing in your process, like, share it in the comments. Yeah, I love hearing from you guys. It's been like, yeah, it's something that I really value. Probably the thing I value most about doing this channel is responding to comments and like having an interaction with another human being. So yeah, I will see you next week. Tomorrow I'm starting a very scary writing challenge, so wish me luck and keep me in your prayers as I do that challenge. And yeah, really genuinely pray for me, because it will be the hardest writing challenge I have ever done. So yeah, that's next week. That'll be on the channel. Whether I completely flunk out of it or not, it will be here. So yeah, I'll see you then. Okay, bye.